maybe we'll just start with you, Rick, kind of maybe give us a real brief, what's happening with Compassion on your end, and then we can switch over to Jonathan and he can talk about the Dominican and we can go from there. How's that sound?
Sure. And I can tell you, and this is not hyperbole. So I have never seen a Compassion Sunday season in terms of churches having, compassion events than we had this past spring. God just showed up in so many different ways, and there were so many things that happened. It was like, are you serious? And it was almost like God was saying, oh, you think that's something? Wait till you see this. We had things that happened that made no sense, made no human sense. And like in our region alone, and I don't know if this number means anything, we had 1,400 kids sponsored through Compassion Sunday events. In some of these churches, there were like 25 people attending because of COVID. And, they might have 25 people there, but there were, 18 kids sponsored, and there's no human explanation. So it's been an incredible year from that part. So we've had to restructure. Compassion overall has had a reorganization as well. Compassion USA, that has made it, a pretty trying year, I think, anytime there's change. So that's happening. As the ministry as a whole, we still have lots and lots and lots of kids that are registered and haven't had as many opportunities to be sponsored over this past 18 months, I guess it's been now. With COVID, and although we're having these great, incredible impact, there's still a lot of kids waiting, because once we registered them, they were in the program, and we weren't going to, remove anybody from that. So currently, and I just got this number like a couple weeks ago, we have about 200,000 kids that are registered and waiting for a sponsor. Mm-hmm. And about 50,000 of those kids have been waiting more than a year. So that gives you a little bit of the scope. So that's really a 30,000 foot view, I guess, of what's going on. And maybe to transition, and Jason, I don't know what your next question is, but I do want to transition with this. I just got a letter from Juan from DR0456. And I don't know if you guys that were on that trip. I don't think, were any of you there?
Chuck, me?
Chuck was the only one there.
Yeah.
But Chuck, if you remember Juan from 456, he was, the older teenager who lost his dream of playing baseball. And if you don't mind, I just want to read this one little section here, Jason, because this just really warms my heart. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he said, I have to tell you some things that have happened. I have been transformed by God. It's something so wonderful that I'm in love with him every day more. Mm-hmm. And I also got some pictures of him being baptized during COVID, and just incredible. But that was part of that trip that Chuck and I were a part of. Believe it or not, it was February of 2020. So so anyway, I'll stop with that. But cool. Yeah, lots happening with Compassion. But I tell you, it's God continues to bless the ministry in incredible ways. I get used to saying the term 0456 or 456 for the one center that we visited last time we were there. And we have been an intentional relationship with them, and have been kids who are needing a sponsorship from there. We continually get updates on who needs sponsorship. But for people who are not quite clear on what that means, that's the number that number designates the center. That's the center's number in the Dominican. And I don't know if we officially, Rick and I talked some about whether it's okay to kind of be focusing on one center or not. And I don't remember if we said it was or not. I forget that conversation already. But that's kind of where we are. We're kind of focusing on one center because our hope is to be able to go back there. And I'm not sure when, but go back there and be in relation with all of those kids and be sponsoring all the kids from there. And the other thing that we've done in the recent times is,
we've given a financial donation to that center as they were trying to complete another story in their building, and they continue to work on that. So we've been kind of building this relationship with them, and we're hoping that in February we'll be on again. And Rick and I have talked about getting the pastor from that center to join us. So we're hoping that that'll happen in February. We're working through the paperwork for that. I know Rick is, so we'll see. But
yes, and I did, just to give you an update on that, it is in process. I put in the request for February 28th, I think it was, Jason. So we'll see where that lands. But also, just to answer your question, yes, it is fine to focus on one center. And I know there's a lot of churches that do that, and they love doing that because of that deeper relationship.
So, Jonathan, we'll let you give you some time here now that we're done talking, but good to see you. And maybe to let people know what your position is at the Dominican. I'm not sure if everybody knows, so let them know that, and then we'll just kind of dive into how things are going with you and your family and Compassion.
Sure, Jake. It is great to be with you, friends. I think I know most of you. Happy to see you, Chuck. We were praying for the surgery, and so we're excited to see you healthy and
Thank you.
restoring. And well, I am the manager of supporter engagement in the DR. In English, I oversee a team of 8 people who help. Basically, they are the quality management team that makes sure churches receive the letters that you write to your beneficiaries, and same thing happen back. We process around 40,000 letters a month. Without COVID, we have had big challenges with the pandemic. And for example, I will be very surprised if you got letters from your beneficiaries at DR 4, 5, 6, because we are not having letters going on right now. But that's the one thing that we do on that specific team, sponsored donor services. That's the one team that I oversee. 40 translators translating the letters and all that. And on the other hand, a second team who is in charge of visits, on-ground visits to the country. And that's where Anthony and Jose, I think he was the last one hosting you, Jose Amado, and Angelica, if you kind of met them. But I had the honor to host you for the very first time to this church when I was at TBS. Since the last time that we talked, beneficiaries were at home receiving classes from home, different ways that happened. That happened through WhatsApp, through the phones of the families. The children receive videos of the tutors giving the classes, and some handcraft activities that people do at the house with very simple materials. Another centers had tutors going to the house, side of the house. The tutor will provide some sort of classes or some sort of homework on paper. There has been too many ideas, creative idea of the tutors providing the classes. For the youth, many of them are receiving classes from the high school through Zoom, again, with their families, phones. And so the center have been providing classes through that. So it's been a challenge because internet connection is very poor in those contexts. But since the government has been trying to also provide classes online, that has helped a lot in terms of training the beneficiaries on how to use digital platform to have classes. Right now, on September, the government reopened schools. And so officially, Compassion Centers reopened doors for beneficiaries to get in, to go back to the churches. We have been very careful on having beneficiaries at the center before officially having the Ministry of Education school back, having students back to school. Because the compassion centers are not schools, and having children on after school program on daily basis could be legally dangerous for the churches. So our decision was we will expect the government to reopen schools, and then we will reopen compassion centers. That's the primary reason why there are no letters going back and forth right now. In fact, the letters that you have written to your beneficiaries, they have received them, but a copy of your original letter. They haven't received the actual letter. They will receive the actual letter in the coming month, and that's happening right now. There is a team of 8, and we got like 8 contracts, temporary contracts with people to help us release those 80,000 letters that we have waiting from sponsor to all the beneficiaries since the beginning of the pandemic. Again, the original, they have received copies to read it, and they are crazy to write. The beneficiaries are dying to write back to the sponsors. But that has been a challenge because many, I can imagine many sponsors waiting for their beneficiaries to write without any information from them. So there are many things that my team has been working hard. Right now, we are processing something that we call updates. Those updates are the pictures that you receive from your beneficiaries and the information of how they're doing on the 4 areas. We're working that right now. So let me just ask you to pray for us because we're dealing with high level of stress. In fact, I just came home from the office because there are too many letters to process, send to the churches, getting those letters back to the sponsors. And there is a sense of responsibility from us because we have been seeing that sponsor hasn't received the letters. So now we want those letters to reopen. We want that communication process to go back.
Hey, Jonathan, can I just ask a quick question then? So I got a letter from Juan. Did he just kind of do that on his own because he's 19 years old? And
do you receive a picture with the letter?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the reason. We piloted that's the reason. So that's something called, this is a brand new platform called Compassion Moments. Compassion Moments, it's actually the DR and a team from the US, we designed this Compassion app, and it was prior to the pandemic. The whole idea is we want to help to strengthen the communication between the sponsor and the beneficiary. We want people to understand in the US and Australia, all those sponsor countries, $38 is not the only goal of compassion. It's the relationship between the sponsor and the beneficiary and the life of the beneficiary being transformed by the gospel. But there are complaints with the letters. Sometimes sponsor says, I received the same letter. My beneficiary kind of say the same thing. And there are reasons for that. There are protocols that we use called quality standards for letters. So there are questions that we ask the beneficiaries to help them write. And that is the reason sometimes beneficiaries answer in the same structure. They write the letter in the same structure. So we're trying to change that because the outcome of that is letters with the same kind of structure, and that is confusing for both the sponsor and the beneficiary. So both said those letters are monotonous, say kind of the same. So now we're saying, what if the tutor or another beneficiary, young beneficiary, have a compassion app in a phone at the center, and they can take pictures of the beneficiaries on a daily basis, playing in the playground area or having breakfast. And by doing that, they can write a note, and that immediately will show up to you as a letter. But that was actually a picture that we call compassion moment, a spontaneous moment of the beneficiary. That's another reason to pray for us. There are many new ideas that we're trying to pilot to strengthen the communication. So that's the reason some beneficiaries are, some sponsors are receiving letters and others are not. So my guess, Rick, is that your beneficiary, because he's a young man, he was able to actually talk to the tutor and say, can you explain my sponsor these and these and these and these, even though she was the one taking, or he was the one, the tutor, taking the picture of his baptism.
Okay.
I just wanted to say this was just a short note from my girl, and I sent a family gift, and this is a picture of her in a store buying school supplies, and she's got a backpack. She picked out a backpack. So I was so excited to get this. This is the first communication since January of 2020. So this was cool.
Did you just get it, Lori, recently? Did you just get it very recently?
Like at the begin, maybe the beginning of October, or
Okay.
like, yeah, right around the last month or so.
This is a great feedback, Lori, and I would love, Jason, if this is a lot of work for you, but if we can take this piece of the conversation and you can send it to me, because we are, for Compassion Moment, we are not requiring the churches to do it, but we want churches to do it. Like we don't have handwriting letters going till now. Now we're going back, but still it's too much to go. But with the Compassion Moment app, you can take a picture, write a note, and immediately the sponsor will get a letter, like a form of a letter, just like that, the picture and the note. So we're trying to basically sell it to the churches because this is optional. It's not, we're not demanding that, but we're saying this is the answer of God in the midst of this moment. So this feedback and testimony is just so great for me to share with the churches.
I wondered if you could give us an update or kind of a overview of the water treatment plant, the water treatment facility that we sponsored. And is that in San Luis? Is that right?
San Luis, yes.
Because if you haven't been on a Compassion trip, those who are on the call, one of the really impactful and meaningful things you do when you're on the trip is you walk the streets of the places where the students and the children and families live. You go visit their homes, you walk their streets, so you get a real sense of where they live and what it's like and all that kind of thing. So I was thinking about that neighborhood and the close proximity of people in living and then the water that we sponsor for the treatment of water there. And one is how was COVID's what was the impact on that, particularly on San Luis? Did it spread, that kind of thing? And then two, how did the water treatment facility function within that? Was it a blessing to people, things like that during that time?
I asked the question to the project director, even though about the community in the pandemic, even though I found, and I have been talking about this, the pandemic has increased, where we have seen the increase of extreme poverty is on the Great Santo Domingo. That's how we call it, Great Santo Domingo. Great Santo Domingo, it's everything outside of the center of the city. That's everything on the other side of the bridge. And as you remember, we going into the city, we have to cross the bridge to get into the city. That's the reason we always stay by the airport. Okay, so that's Great Santo Domingo. And so that's where extreme poverty have grew. We're talking in terms of numbers, from 200,000 people to over almost 1 million people in extreme poverty. Because especially in the touristic area, which is the business on that region, actually hitting east, everything got shut down. And so all the staff on the hotel that we have used or end up in furlough, or their contracts were terminated, which was the case of all those hotels till Punta Cana. So that's why the east of the country was the most heated region in the DR. So poverty grew very, very hard. Many families in the community lost their jobs. That's what the project director told me, and it didn't surprise me. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were talking of 800,000 people, and those are formal jobs. Those are people who have a contract in a company. But half, 51% of the workforce in the DR, that's what we call informal jobs. Those are people who sell clothes on a sidewalk, or even people who promote the water at the purification system of the church. They might have some bottled water in their homes that they sell. That's an informal job. They don't have a retirement plan. They don't pay anything that will come back for them in terms of health. They don't have health insurance. So that's half of the workforce of the DR. Those people are curfews were not like in the US. Like, we were forced to be at home without going out for 3 months, then a month of flexibility, and then go back to maybe 2 months on the same condition. And the DR was in the same process till the end of last year. This year, we started to see some sort of flexibility. And so the biggest issue that we have had at the homes is physical abuse in the house. You have a father not getting money, without food. It's in a very small space. There is no social distancing in those houses. You have been there. You understand what I'm referring to. And so now you have an aggressive mother or an aggressive father. So the church, the biggest need that we have seen is food security. Like, that's why the churches have been providing food on weekly basis. Literally, we have been focusing on, we have to provide food. And second, mental health, helping the families how to deal with the stress and the challenge, and tell the family, we have food for you. If the issue is food, we can help you. If the issue is that you can pay the rent, we can find ways to help you. So now those families are getting job back. They have been allowed to go back on the streets, and the water purification system has been a blessing, because the other thing is, and I can understand why, I don't know, but the water that I buy in the city, because I don't have the chance that they have in that community, went from 60 pesos, that's $1.50, to $2 in the pandemic. Even in our house, we're finding ways we can pay $2 every time for the water that we buy. And so these families are buying water for 30 cents at that church. The biggest issue in San Luis, there are two main issues. There are no water system that work. Remember, San Luis was a sugarcane area business. The worst poverty in the DR is those former factories of sugarcane, because when that got broken, the government just left. And so those communities are like ghost areas. And so you can feel it. You have been there, so you understand what I'm trying to say. So now, with the support of the church and the water security, there are two issues on that area. I said the price of the water, not access to clean water. And second, the water on that area is very heavy. It's not safe water. And so with that purification system, these families are receiving a water that they can buy. The beneficiaries receive free water. So the beneficiaries at the church, they don't buy that water, the church has provided. And the other thing is, one of the reasons that beneficiaries die and children in general in the DR is because of amoebas, stomachache, sickness, because of the water that they drink. So this water is safe water that they have, that they are receiving. So in a summary, a water that they can buy, safe water, and prevention of sickness. So our beneficiaries in that area are not dealing with stomachache problems because of the water. Well, I want to let you know that the church, this gift that you send, was a great blessing for the church. Again, it's very small. I can send that to you. You can see this is, they have these like moving walls made of wood.
Wow.
So that center function on the sanctuary. That's first floor. So that's the reality now. So this, as if you remember of being there, this is a sanctuary. And so this is a class, this is another class, there is another class here. So there are different classes going on at the same time.
Right.
That's not adequate for learning.
No.
There are children talking here, there are children talking here. So you can understand what the tutor is saying, but that's the reality now of the church. Okay, prior to your support, this was the second floor.
That's the second floor. Yeah.
And now you remember that when we were there last time, they only had these pillars or
Pylons.
bullet. But that's what they had. So you can see. So that's the only thing. So this is what happened with the gift. So they got these blocks, we call it, and these iron metal. Yeah. And so at the end, this is the outcome. So now we can see those people working. And so this is the outcome.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
It's not only these things, these pillars, but the walls, and even now we can see the space for the windows.
It's gonna be great.
So this is both sides, both areas, like both walls, and even on the back, you can tell in the back that they could do the same. And that was only what, $4,000?
Yeah.
And so you can tell here, they even got this new one pillar. So you can see the project that I asked, taking a picture, she's posing here. That was very funny. Anyway, so these are new pillars that they got in the process. Very new, and the wall. So anyway, so I wanted to show you, and these, I don't know how they call this, because there are pillars here, and there is a piece of, or not a piece, but a chunk of metal, of those metals right here.
Oh, okay.
Through the whole building. So I am very surprised. And look at this picture.
Oh.
Oh, look at the girls.